Hi, everybody. Steve Borie here. I am the author of the American Casino Guidebook. And today's video, we're going to give a Las Vegas casinos reopening update. And today is May 22nd, 2020. Joining me today is Matt Bourie, editor of the American Casino Guidebook. And we have an expert on Las Vegas, Anthony Curtis, who is the publisher of the Las Vegas Advisor newsletter. And Anthony is one of the foremost experts in the United States on Las Vegas. Anthony, I think I've known you about 30 years. How long have you, can you give some people some background on Las Vegas Advisor?
Yeah, it probably has been about 30 years, Steve, pretty close to it. We've been doing the Advisor for, I don't know, maybe 35, 36 years. And I think I met you shortly, thereafter, after we began. Las Vegas Advisor is a newsletter that's been around for, as I say, 3 decades plus. We look for best values deals for people who are coming to town. Try to stay on top of the news and everything that's going on. Obviously, there's a ton going on right now. Well, there's nothing going on, but behind the scenes, it's absolutely crazy. And, actually busier now than have been in a long time, just trying to stay up with all the opening information and trying to separate rumors from reality,
All right, well, we did an update last week, and at that time, there's no set date for the reopening of the casinos, and we were guessing around June the 1st. Can you give us an update? Has anything changed?
Well, okay, first to address the no firm date, that's correct. The reason for that is that the governor has to give the go-ahead, or really in terms of casinos, the Gaming Control Board has to give the go-ahead. So it's really a joint thing. Gaming Control Board will determine when a place can open, and then the governor will rubber stamp it, essentially. Nobody has declared yet. Nobody has gotten the official word, but you're correct. June 1st seems to be the date. Everybody's pointing towards June 1. In the last Las Vegas Advisor, a month ago, before any of this started, we looked at the calendar and things that were going on, and we also predicted June 1. So I haven't seen anything that's changed that. We're looking at, about 9-10 days away.
Now, one question I had is we've seen reports that all of these casinos are starting to take reservations. I mean, some had started taking reservations for, I think it was this week, some for the week before, and that clearly hasn't happened. And I know that some of them are saying June 1st, and some are saying the beginning of June. Is that's sort of what we're going by there, is that everybody's sort of getting ready to go?
Yeah, we run a blog on LasVegasAdvisor.com. It's called Vegas and the Virus. And we stayed up on top of this, since it started. We're in like day 66 of the quarantine, or 67, whatever it is right now. And throughout, we've published dates that reservations were being taken. And these are all moving targets. They don't mean anything. I mean, they were taking reservations in April. They were taking reservations in May. And what the casinos are doing there is they're just, in case, they get the go-ahead, they want to have some people in the casino, in the hotel. So that doesn't really mean too much. As of now, most places are taking reservations as of the end of May. So they're ready for the opening. But again, there's going to be, not all places are going to open at the same time, and not all places within certain companies like Caesars or MGM are going to open at the same time. It's going to be a staggered opening, absolutely.
All right, now we've seen some news that the good news for Las Vegas goers is that the parking fees are being gone. They've gotten rid of the parking fees. At least MGM and I think Cosmopolitan have said so. And can you give an update on that? And also, what do you think is going to happen with resort fees? Do you think those will go away?
Well, first of all, it's today the third domino fell in Caesars Entertainment. And Caesars followed MGM and Cosmopolitan in, quote, suspending. That's what they said, we are suspending. So that means they're going to open their casinos without paid parking in place. This is for self-parking now. Some places are not even going to open the valets. Others are going to open the valets and leave the fees involved there. But these could all come back at some time. Resort fees is going to be different. Like, everybody kind of knew that parking was going to go, paid parking was going to go away. They had to. They had no choice. Resort fees are different. They're going to cling to those, for dear life, as long as they possibly can. Now, I can see that they could suspend those also, but that for sure would be only for a short period of time, and then they'll bring them back. They're too profitable for them. They're too attached to them. Parking fees, I don't know if they'll come back or not. I think they will when the town, hits its stride, but for now, we're going you can park free on the Strip. First time in 3-4 years.
And I guess we should sort of touch on one of the reasons that the resort fees are probably going to stay is a lot of the casinos and hotels, they instituted those so that they can still make money and show lower rates for like the third-party booking websites, those discount hotel websites, right? So that's why they're keeping those in place, correct?
Correct. There's basically two reasons, and you touched on both of them. One is so they can advertise a lower base rate, and actually the resort fee should be included in the base rate, but okay, so you got a base rate of $32 and a resort fee of $30. The base rate should be $62, but they like to advertise $30. But the bigger reason is, as you say, they have agreements with what are called the OTAs, the online travel agencies like Expedia, Travelocity, that sort of thing, and they have to split the income from the base rate, but not from the resort fee. So the resort fee is a way for them to almost double that fee and not have to split it with the OTAs.
Mm-hmm. And then one other thing that we touched on last week is I believe it was MGM had released their sort of their game plan for how they were going to address reopening with the COVID-19 still out there. And we thought it was good. It was pretty comprehensive. Now, how long do you think those policies are going to stay in place after they finally do open?
Well, probably everything will stay in place probably until there's a vaccine. That's probably what's gonna happen. Is that what Vegas really needs to do now is they have to bring people back, and people have to be confident that they're safe. So that confidence stems from the understanding that the casinos are going to take these sort of precautions. And so we're going to see these things for quite a while. It's really become a broken record here that, every single place puts out their long list of the same thing. You got to wash your hands. You're going to have a temperature check. Dealers will wear masks. Dealers will wear gloves, on and on and on. You read one, you've read them all. So, these things are going to be in place. We're going to have probably plexiglass at a lot of tables, even at some of the slot machines. It's going to be an interesting and surreal kind of scene when they open up again. And I think it'll stay that way until they know that they can crush this virus and people no longer worry.
What's interesting is I actually have here, I'm gonna share the screen here. We have from the Hard Rock the Seminole Hard Rock in Tampa opened, and I have this article here from them opening. They have this picture of the blackjack dealer. He's got, I don't know if you can see it, but the viewers can. He's got his mask on, he's got his gloves on, and they have the full plexiglass enclosure completely surrounding them, and it surrounds each individual player on the table too. And I know that they had been saying they were going to use these, but just finally seeing them it's a little strange. Like you said, it's very surreal. This is the new normal for a bit. It's going to be quite something to witness.
Well, what's so odd about it is that for years, forever, wearing a mask in a casino was a no-no. You couldn't do that for the obvious reasons. They didn't want people walking in with masks and taking chips and running away and so forth. Now everyone's going to be encouraged to do it. So that's going to be a little bit different. But regarding the plexiglass, there've been a lot of articles out there about how they've done it and all the steps they've gone through to do this so that it is not as invasive as you would think it would be. It's not as bothersome, apparently. I'll believe it when I see it. All I can think of is you're going to be sitting there and steaming up the glass in front of you and trying to wipe it so you can see and, the whole thing. But no, it remains to be seen. They claim that it's a pretty seamless experience. So I don't know.
I got a question for you. Most people don't realize that in Las Vegas that there's two distinct markets. One is the strip casinos that caters to the tourists from out of town, and the others are the locals casinos. Now, do you see any difference in how they will approach their openings and which might be more successful than the other?
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a really huge difference. I think the locals casinos are going to come back faster and easier for sure. The reason is they rely on, the local traffic that drives right in. The strip casinos rely a lot on airline traffic, and people are more afraid to get on planes than they are to go into casinos. And, Steve Wynn was just interviewed the other day. I guess it was the first Steve Wynn interview since he was, exiled from the industry. And that was his biggest point, is that until the airlines come back, the strip's going to have a hard time. There's also going to be a real big delineation between weekend and weekdays, because the weekend will be propped up a lot by California driving, but weekdays require airline traffic. People who fly in stay for 4 or 5 days at a time. Obviously, that runs into a week on either side, and that's where weekday traffic comes from. So weekdays are going to be tough. Weekends are going to be better for the Strip. Locals casinos are going to come back and be vibrant before the Strip casinos will be.
Well, one question, we were talking about masks. Now, what about smoking? It's going to be harder to smoke with a mask on your face. Have the casinos addressed this issue and perhaps assign more non-smoking sections? Will they still allow you to? Because Las Vegas is one of the few places where you can smoke in the casino.
Yeah, that's been a touchy subject that they've tried to kind of keep a wrap on, because there's no way that they're going to outlaw smoking in the casino. You know, when you talk to people behind the scenes, they all admit it. Too many gamblers are smokers, and there's no way they're going to do that. Now, might they, as you say, designate more areas non-smoking? I think that's a distinct possibility. Somebody the other day brought up to me that, what about outside tables? That would work. You know, I mean, that makes a lot of sense during the summertime, as you put some of those tables out, you know, near the pool where smokers can go, but they're not going to ban it inside. If people want to have their cigarettes and so forth, and that's going to continue.
And one other question is, of course, buffets, because they don't want anyone self-serving. And we have discussed this, Matt and I were discussing it in previous videos. But one thing that my experience that I pointed out was that I was on a cruise back in February, and they had a norovirus. So they didn't want anybody touching anything. So when you went into the buffet, they had people give you your plates, give you your silverware. Nobody touched anything. It was all the employees were behind there. It was like a cafeteria style line, and you point and they'd serve you. Do you think something like that would work, or do you think buffets are just going to disappear for a while?
Well, this is the scary one. I mean, buffets are really in jeopardy. There's almost all the places that have talked about opening say they will not open with their buffets. Now, they haven't said for sure they're going to get rid of them. A couple have. Golden Nugget buffet is gone. Treasure Island buffet is gone. They're not coming back. The others are saying, okay, we're, station casinos. The buffets are huge at all the station casinos, and they're opening without buffets to start. So, they won't be there from the start. They might come back later, and it may be this serving thing, as you said, which they did for a week before they closed. Before the casinos in Vegas knew that they were going to be mandated to close by the government, they have their own volition changed buffet to like serving lines. It sucks, right? It's not fun. It's not cool. You never get the right amount. You don't get the piece you wanted. It stinks. So hopefully that won't be the case, and it won't happen. But we may see it come back in stages. First nothing, then something along those lines, until we get back to normal there as well.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like you said, like Golden Nugget, they're closing their buffet, TI's closing their buffet. Those are places that aren't really well known for their buffets. I was thinking that some of the places like Caesars, where they have that massive Sunday brunch, or any of the Caesars properties, really, because they're the ones that do that, the buffet of the buffets, where you get access to all the buffets for 24 hours. I feel like some of the more well-known properties, or even like Cosmo has a very good buffet. I feel like some of them would try to push to keep their buffets, but I could see why some of the other ones wouldn't mind getting rid of them.
Yeah, I agree with you that the high-end buffets are in less danger. Certainly the Bacchanal is going to come back. They just did a big, like $2.5 million revamp of the Bacchanal during the closure. So they wouldn't be doing that if they weren't going to bring it back for sure. Wicked Spoon at the Cosmopolitan, as you mentioned, is another one. Probably Wynn Las Vegas, probably Bellagio. All the big buffets are probably safe. It's just some of the middle market ones where they might just say, it's too much effort for the value of having it. But I don't think so. I think the buffets are just so strong as a marketing tool. The casinos that have them are going to find a way to get them back.
Yeah, and the next thing we wanted to talk about is if you look at all the plans that these casinos have put out, they're putting player limits on the games. I believe they said it was 3 players at a blackjack table, 6 at a craps table, 4 at a roulette table, and 4 at a poker table. So do you think that with less players being allowed at each of the tables, the casinos are going to want to raise the betting limits?
Boy, that's a tough one. I mean, first I'll say, I think we take poker out of the equation. I don't think you're going to see poker opening up for a long, long time. Of all of the different gambling games that can put you in danger for touching, poker's the worst. You can walk up to a video poker machine or a slot machine, use your own antiseptic, wipe it down, have your gloves, whatever you want to do, and it's only you until you're finished. Even at blackjack, you know, I think that pitch games are going to be gone. That is, you're not going to be picking up cards and scratching the table or sticking them under your chips anymore. I think you're going to be using hand signals everywhere. So you're only touching chips here and there. Poker, it's too much cards, too much chips, every hand, moving money, you know, moving the shuffle and the deal. It's just, I think poker is probably going to go away for a long time, if not almost forever, in terms of bricks and mortar. Now, in terms of raising limits, we might see a little bit of that. We'll see. It's going to be what the market will bear there. I mean, middle market places can't raise it too much. You know, you can't walk into a place like Arizona Charlie's and have $25 minimums. It ain't going to work. So, you know, I think it's going to depend on the place. You might see incremental raises in some place. I don't think it's going to be absolute in every place you go to.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you had said that you thought poker was going to be eliminated completely, because I don't play poker myself, but I have a few friends that play poker, and they were saying that with a limit of 4 people if you only have 4 people at a poker table, they were saying that it would completely change the strategy, and especially in a ring game. And you know, Steve and I were talking earlier. Steve said that a lot of these poker players, they need bad players to make their money. If you only got 4 players at a table, there's not much room for bad players. So it's that's an interesting. I didn't even think that they wouldn't be opening, but that sort of makes more sense there now that you mentioned it.
Well, there'll be some people that, you know, that would like that. There are short table specialists. You know, there are guys that love to play in ring games of 6 or fewer. But that's just not going to be sustainable for the casino itself. So yeah, you know, it's an economic decision as well as a social decision that's going to make it real tough on poker all the way around.
Yeah, and since the poker rooms make their money off the rake, I could see how if with only 4 players, there's going to be even less money in the pots for them to rake out of. So I could see why the casinos sort of wouldn't want that.
Yeah, it was bad enough already. I mean, when they had full ring games, it was bad enough in terms of the poker room not being a really good profit center. So, you know, they're gonna cut it down. It's just, you know, economically, it's probably just not feasible. I think we're going to see poker rooms turn into slots.
One last question on the opening of Las Vegas casinos here, and a lot of comments from people when we post these videos that say, "Oh, they're going to tighten the games up. They need to make their money back." And you know, I think you and I know that the casinos aren't really going to adjust the payback percentages on their slot machines. So I don't think that's going to change. But what about the marketing side, the comps that they give the players? Do you think, based on the current environment, you know, they're coming back from zero business, are they going to be more generous with comps? Or are they going to say, oh, we need to make more money, and they're going to be less generous?
Well, I think they're going to be more generous, to be honest. And, you know, essentially, a good way to look at that is not necessarily a casino. Look at a non-casino gaming bar. You know, look at a bar that has video poker in Las Vegas. There's 2 ways they make their money. One is by having, you know, the better pay tables. So they, you know, people gravitate there because they get a better payoff. The second is they have standard bar pay tables, which are really bad. You know, 6-5 bonus poker, 7-5, you know, jacks or better, that kind of stuff. That's you know, 4% edge types of games at the best. But they make it back by really good promotions. Come in and get a match play. Come in and get, you know, whatever, double jackpot or whatever they're going to do. The bars tend to go that route. I think we're going to see the same thing with the casinos. They can't, especially on the Strip, they can't make their video poker schedules that much worse. You know, they're pretty bad. But I think you're going to see more in terms of promotions and comps. I think it's going to be better for quite a while. Well,
that would be good news for players. And
yeah, they can't stay, you know, they can't stay too miserly. You know, if they do, you know, people are going to get fed up. They're going to go, hey, you know, I'm coming back here, I'm giving you business, and you know, you're robbing me, and I don't think they can get away with that.
Yeah, one thing that I heard is that in the recession back in like 2007, 2008, when that was a little bit before my time because I'm younger, but I have some older friends that are in Vegas and are professional gamblers or have spent time in casinos, and they were saying that once that started, the casinos had started really churning up the offers and sending out a really good stuff to encourage people to come back, but then as it sort of stretched on, that's when they closed up and had to tighten up. So I think if these bounce back, as they were pretty much thinking that the same thing would happen, they're going to make it a lot better in offers and stuff to get people to come back in. And as long as they bounce back, it should stay like that.
Yeah, if you look at history, I mean, you know, the bad events that have hit Vegas, you know, essentially are, you know, 9/11, the recession, the shooting. the strip shooting. All of these things depressed visitation to Las Vegas, and all of those were followed by lower room rates, better offers from the casinos. I see no reason, this being the biggest one of all of them, I see no reason that formula won't be followed again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that would be good news for gamblers if that happens, hopefully. Now, and I wanted to ask about the national casino scene. May the 1st was because at one time when we did our first video, April the 30th, all the casinos in the U.S. were closed, every single casino. Then on May the 1st, the first one opened in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then they opened in Washington. Some opened in Washington, Oklahoma, the whole city of Deadwood, South Dakota opened. This week on Monday, Louisiana casinos open, and yesterday, Mississippi casinos were allowed to reopen. Now, they haven't all opened, but they've been allowed to reopen. But from the basic articles we've seen on the openings, they seem to be very successful. That well, at least initially, there's lines of people waiting to get inside. So what are your thoughts on this? Will this last, or this is just an initial surge after everyone being quarantined for so long?
Well, they've been more than successful. I mean, it's been very strong at almost every single opening. That's that pent up demand that everyone's been talking about. I think that has to fizzle a little bit, and I don't think it's like that's going to be their new normal, that people are going to keep coming in droves the way they have. But I think it's going to be strong enough. I think that demonstrates that enough people are not so scared that they won't come out. But you also, for Vegas, we have to be very careful about using that as a bellwether because, again, those are regional markets. Those are drive-to markets. There's not a whole lot of people flying in to go even to Biloxi. It just doesn't work that way. So, Vegas is going to be a little bit of a different game. And I think that when they open, there's going to be a surge at the beginning here as well. And then it's going to taper off, and then we'll find out. I think same thing with the regional casinos around the United States. I think the next couple of weeks will tell the story.
Yeah, one thing that's interesting is this past weekend we had a tribal casino down by us open, and it is quite a drive from the Miami area. It's probably 45 minutes. It's out in the middle of the Everglades, and they had a huge crowd. From the pictures I saw, it looked like, I think they said it was a 2-hour wait just to get into the parking lot before you could even wait in line. And but there we have several casinos down here. They're the only ones that open. So, they're the only game in town as it stands right now. So I think that once they even start getting some competition in the same area, I feel like, if you have the whole Miami metro area, Fort Lauderdale metro area, all funneling down to go to one casino, once some more in the area open, I feel like it'll sort of expand a little bit. Like, I don't remember seeing the pictures of people waiting in line in Deadwood because the whole city opened at once. So,
right.
Yeah. And now the one other thing we wanted to talk about is there's already been 3 casinos that have announced that they're closing for good. They're not going to open back up. One of them is the Lakeside Inn in Lake Tahoe. Another one is Diamond Jack's Casino in Bossier City, which was not a small property. They had a 400-room hotel, and also one closer to your neck of the woods, the Colorado Bell down in Laughlin. Do you see this being a widespread problem, or do you think this is just going to be a few isolated incidents? Or,
boy, that's I thought there'd be more by now, to be honest with you. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say there's probably quite a few more that when they open the doors, they're going to go, no, we're not going to. And it's not like it's going to be, mass closings all over the place. Otherwise, we'd have seen more by now. But there have got to be certain operations that just couldn't see through this. And we're going to see more of this. Now, how many? I don't know. Is it going to be 10? Is it going to be 15, around the country? I'd probably take the over on that. I think there's going to be a few more if you count all the really small places in Oklahoma and, up in the Northwest. In Vegas, I think we're going to see a few. I don't know which ones, but I think we're going to see a few.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's never good to see that. So hopefully it's less than we expect. Never like to see places go out of business, especially when they're fun places like casinos.
Yeah, really.
All right. Well, I think we covered everything, gentlemen. Anthony Curtis, if people want to get more information about you and your company, where would they go to do that?
Our website, LasVegasAdvisor.com. We're putting up, if you want to stay up to date on this stuff, as I said, we're doing an ongoing blog, Vegas and the Virus. We have the Vegas news that we put up every day, 4 or 5 items. We have several blogs going that are, talking about different things. We're going to start moving out of just the pandemic coverage. We're going to get back to, the cool things that are happening in gambling and in Vegas. So just LasVegasAdvisor.com, and you see what we do.
All right, great. Thanks very much for spending time with us today, Matt Bourie. Thank you very much. And for everybody else out there, best wishes for good luck on your next visit to the casinos.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.